What's up, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. I'm your host, Nicholas Moriano, filling in for Adam Hogue, who's on vacation, and Will DeWitt, who's also on vacation. But we got you covered here at CHGO with a great lineup of guests. And this week it starts off with one of my colleagues here at CHGO, Luke Stuckmeyer. How are you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, you know it's the scab crew when they're bringing me in for the podcast. It's like scab referees, scab umpires. Bring in Stuckmeyer. Call the lefty.
I don't think that's the case. Luke, you do a fantastic job with the Cubs, with Cody and the crew there. But I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts real quick before we start talking Bears.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, being the CHGO Bears podcast, White Sox Cubs just kind of wrapped up their crosstown series over the weekend. What were your thoughts on what the Cubs were able to do?
Honestly, for both teams, I would think both sides of town are disappointed. Not the Sox because they swept, but because they're going to lose Tim Anderson for a long stretch of time. Yeah. I don't know if it's the rest of the season. I don't think they've announced that yet today, but it's a bad injury. It's a groin injury. It's not going to be good, and I don't care what side of town you're rooting for. Tim Anderson's a baseball player you want to see. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're one of those Cubs fans that hates the White Sox or a White Sox fan that doesn't like Cubs. Tim Anderson's a great baseball player. He's good for the city. He's good for baseball. I want to see him play. So I think the Sox, despite winning or getting a split, that they're disappointed. The Cubs, on the other hand, crosstown, well, I mean, they should have won both.
Yeah,
they should have split. And then you come back and you play the Brewers and womp womp.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I didn't even get a chance to watch the game that went to extra innings. I was just kind of updating it on my ESPN app, and Jake Berger going and getting the win there. But yeah, when I heard the Tim Anderson news, though, it's like Adam Hogue and I are always talking about the Sox, and it's like a roller coaster ride with them. And anytime you lose a guy that means that much to the team, I don't know. Like I have a bet made on PointsBet that the White Sox will win the AL Central.
Yeah.
And you can cash out on that. I lose like $9 on it, and I'm debating whether or not that's going to be the case for me. I think they're 4.5 games back.
Twins look pretty good too.
Exactly. So it's I'm mixed emotions here, but it was also just Memorial Day weekend. And did you do anything special there, Luke?
I didn't do anything.
Family?
I didn't do anything super special. I know Joey's on the 1s and 2s over there. He did up a little Cub action, right?
Yeah, so I was actually at the first game yesterday, and then I met up with a couple of friends in Wrigley, and I was convinced to buy another ticket. So
double duty.
18 innings yesterday at Wrigley, 0 wins. I've now been to 5 on the season, no wins for me yet. So I think I'm going to start hammering the opposition on PointsBet every time I go, because I might be a bad luck charm or something, but
yeah.
I saw Cody, though. It was fun. It was fun.
Cody was there. He's going to hammer the bets, but I'm going to guess that after 18 innings at Wrigley Field on a hot day, there was some hammering going on for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm surprised you're here at work today, Joey. So props to you for stepping up.
Come on. It's not my first rodeo.
It's not his first rodeo.
There you go. There you go.
So we didn't do anything super exciting. We walked downtown and had I live in Arlington Heights, and they've got a great al fresco eating area. Like they closed down the streets and open up the street and the sidewalks for all the restaurants. So, we hit that up. Took the little guy over there. Nothing super exciting. Watched a little. I didn't even watch all the Cubs because I was disappointed in the fact that they didn't bring up Caleb Killian, and then when they didn't bring him up, they brought up Swarmer, and he deserved to win. Mm-hmm. A guy that was in Division II, pitching in an adult baseball league at one point, comes out and throws a great game, and then you give the game away at the end. So I was disappointed in that. But other than that, nothing super exciting. We had Cubs. We did baseball here most of the weekend, and then so Memorial Day was my day off, and I just kind of laid low, had a couple hot dogs.
There you go.
The usual.
That's a good way to spend it. Actually, you bring up Arlington Heights. My girlfriend and I are actually looking to move, maybe in that area.
Oh yeah.
Just to be in between Hallis Hall and maybe
Soldier
Field. So, what's your favorite restaurant down there? We really like Salsa 17.
It's great.
That's a really
great.
Good restaurant.
Let me recommend the Burnt Ends. I think they call it queso fundido or something like that. It's burnt ends in the melted cheese with the chips.
Whew. I haven't ate lunch yet, so that sounds fantastic right now.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's a good restaurant. Cortland's is on the corner, and there's a Cortland's. The original Cortland's is right here on Cortland and Ashland in the city. Used to live in that neighborhood, so that was a place we'd always gone to. Scratchboard Kitchen for breakfast is good. Mm-hmm. The old biscuit sandwich.
There you go.
Some good places.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not downtown Chicago for food, but as far as the suburbs go, like a dining experience outside, feel like you're at least going out and doing something, Arlington Heights is pretty good.
Nice. I see Cody's in the chat here. Yeah. He said, I saw Intoxicated Joey yesterday.
No, that wasn't Joey. The truth comes out.
There it is. Hey, it happens. 18 innings of baseball. That's a long, long time. For me, it was just a bunch of hanging around with friends and family I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
I started off the weekend, though, doing the Murph Challenge on Saturday.
What's that?
So basically, it's a challenge dedicated to Michael Murphy, who was a United States Navy SEAL officer, and he was awarded the Medal of Honor and for his actions during the war in Afghanistan. And every year they do this challenge, and here's how it goes to honor him. Starts with a mile run, then you have to do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 body squats, and end it with another mile run. You could split up the push-ups, pull-ups, squats in any way that you want. And I mean, like,
it was hot too. It was hot out.
Oh yeah. So I got to do it inside of the gym that I work out in, thank goodness. But man, like that is a challenge that if you have not trained for it, like me, like it smacks you right in the face initially.
Next year you do that with the sandbag on your shoulder.
You're supposed to do it with like a 20-pound vest, and I would still be doing it on Saturday if I had to do something like that. But
you lost me at the first mile. Let's be honest.
Start off with that, and then you got all the push-ups, pull-ups, squats. But that's how it started. And then I went more casual, just hanging out, drinking, eating some good food, and having a good time. So,
well, that's cool. I mean, that's a nice thing to do too on Memorial Day, right? Like everybody goes out and does the picnic and this, all that stuff, but it's not really a day where we're all supposed to be running around happy and having fun. So at least that acknowledges the real reason for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, we always had a family picnic out in the Crystal Lake area because I have a lot of cousins out that way. And I remember as a little kid swimming once on Memorial Day in Crystal Lake. And other than that, every other Memorial Day I can remember in my entire lifetime in the Chicago area was like 50 and rain. So yesterday being like, I don't know what it ended up being, almost 90 degrees was just crazy.
Yeah, just different.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, what's that mean for the rest of the summer? We're going to be like 105 the rest of the year?
I don't know. With Chicago weather, it can be anything any given day. But, all right. We do have Bears to talk about, and I promise we're going to talk some Bears. And I think whenever you're going to have a discussion about the Chicago Bears, it usually starts with QB1, Justin Fields. And where we want to start this discussion, everybody, and for you in the chat, I want you to definitely chime in here as well. Justin Fields had an exclusive interview, or Bleacher Report interviewed Justin Fields, and in that interview, he had some glowing words to say about the wide receivers that he's going to work with here. So Justin Fields on the Bears receivers, he said, I have plenty of confidence in myself and my teammates that we're going to get the job done. So it's an interesting comment, and I think obviously for Justin Fields, you have to be confident in your team, right, in your teammates. And now, Joey, do we have the graphic of the actual wide receivers that are on this Bears roster?
There we go.
So for people who are just listening to the podcast, I'll read off the names real quickly. Starting off, Byron Pringle, Darnell Mooney, Velus Jones Jr., Equanimous St. Brown, Daz Newsome, Nasimba Webster, David Moore, Kevin Shaw, Chris Fink, Tajay Sharp, Dante Pettis, and good old Isaiah Coulter. So, look, there's the list of wide receivers. I see you're shaking your head over here. And for people who are commenting, just what are your thoughts? How are you feeling about this group of wideouts that Justin Fields is going to use in a very pivotal year two?
Well, I see Jobin down at the bottom says Fields to Julio Jones sounds pretty tasty, yeah? I don't know. That's not what this team – I don't believe this team is going to the playoffs, so I don't know that adding Julio Jones right now does anything other than maybe give Justin Fields somebody that he can trust. I look at that list and I go, there aren't too many teams that are going to, honestly, this is just my opinion, but there aren't going to be too many teams in the NFL that have a worse receiving core than that group. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean there isn't potential in that group.
Exactly.
But when you say unproven, that's what you're really looking at. You have, and don't get me wrong, Allen Robinson was not great last year. It seemed like he kind of checked out and wasn't into it. But at least he was a proven player, and I don't get me wrong. Again, I know he was like 50% of Allen Robinson last year, but at least you had Allen Robinson. Now it's Darnell Mooney, who you believe in, but I don't know that he's a number one. Maybe he will be someday, but I don't know that he's number one. And after that, you have a list of guys. Pringle's the next biggest name on the list. And, he's out doing donuts in a parking lot. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you could be excited about that list. That said, when you look at the list and you're Justin Fields, as you said, what's he supposed to say? He's not going to come out and say, well, they could have done a lot more in the draft. I wish they would have, because then, everybody's going to look at him and be like, well, he's a quitter.
When the PR staff's going to be like, gosh,
crap. Yeah, he can't. There's nothing else he can say other than, I'm very confident. I love this group, yada, yada, yada. Honestly, he can't be feeling totally that way. No matter how great they look in practice, again, maybe there's potential there, but nobody on that list is NFL proven. Even Darnell Mooney, to say he is NFL proven as like an elite wide receiver, I'd say that's a stretch. Like he's had really good moments and he's outdone his draft pick already, and he's I like him, but I wouldn't say he's not a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
No, and here's the thing too. Even though Allen Robinson had the season that he did, as a defense, when you still see number 12 out there, you still got to put your defense to allocate to an Allen Robinson. Even though he didn't have the season that he did, it does open things for a Darnell Mooney, and getting over 1,000 yards last season. That's good for him. Now you want to see what he can do as a number one. So now there's not that opposite threat to him in terms of a proven talent like an Allen Robinson, despite not having the season that he's used to having. Now we got to see that from Darnell Mooney. Someone in the comments here mentioned that the Bears do have a lot of speed, and that they do. That's something that you can look at. The guys that are on there, like a Byron Pringle, runs a 4.4. Darnell Mooney's in the upper 4.3s. Velus Jones Jr. also has a lot of speed. And then in that same comment, they mentioned Getsy in the scheme, and that's where maybe if you're on the optimistic side about this Bears wide receiver core, that's where you got to look first. How is Luke Getsy, the new Bears offensive coordinator, someone who's only called plays in the preseason, going to utilize a group of guys that are definitely unproven? They are not number ones, but can you do approach by committee? Like, right? Just get everybody involved. You never know where the ball's going to go on any given play. So I get it. I get why Fields has to say that. And he's been working in the offseason with Darnell Mooney. He was with Ryan Poles when they were kind of scouting for Velus Jones Jr. So he's looked into some of these guys and how they can make this offense better going into year 2 for him. But when you look at if you just look at the names, it is definitely underwhelming.
It's not going to be scaring other teams, the list of names. And one thing about Darnell Mooney, Tony makes a point on there saying he can trust Darnell Mooney. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. There is a difference, however, for Darnell Mooney being the number 2 guy and being the number 1 guy. When everybody's giving you the best cornerback to you instead of Allen Robinson, there's a little bit of a difference there. So I hope he's up to the challenge. I hope he is, but I don't know the answer to that. And, maybe this scheme will be – I think they're mostly counting on the scheme.
Oh, yeah.
But we talk a lot on the Cubs podcast about this year for the Cubs being a year of exploring, I like to say. Mm-hmm. They like to make fun of me. I say exploring, experimenting, finding out what you have on the roster, finding the young guys that can move forward. That's truly what this is for this Bears roster. Like, instead of having Julio Jones, you're going to explore what you have in some of these wide receivers. The dangerous part of that is you want to make sure you have enough so that Justin Fields can actually grow into the quarterback you believe he is.
just to get the proper evaluation of him too, right?
True.
I mean, this is a new staff. It's supposed to be a big year too. Does he have the wide receivers that's going to get the best out of Justin Fields? We have to wait and see on that approach, especially given this is a new scheme and a lot of moving parts. I will say this for like Byron Pringle, a guy that they're expecting to be the number 2 wide receiver last season with the Chiefs, and that's a great offense in itself.
Yep.
And you have a guy named Patrick Mahomes.
He's all right.
That also, yeah, he's pretty good. He did finish 9th last season in creating those explosive types of plays, which the Bears lacked all of last season. And he did that really as a number 4. So now he's jumping up to a number 2 role. Maybe that production doesn't replicate here in Chicago, but he did have a knack for making those bigger plays. But, again, you just need to see how Luke Getsy is envisioning all these guys coming here and working with Fields to, again, get that proper evaluation of him.
Nicholas, I'll give you another thing that terrifies me about that list as a Bears fan. Okay, even if you're on board with that list of wide receivers and you're behind the scenes and you know some of these guys are good, the NFL is nothing but injuries. If we know anything about the NFL, it's that guys are going to get hurt. And knock on wood, but take Darnell Mooney off that list for a couple weeks.
Luke, then it gets
now
really
what are the
scarce.
now who are the targets? Take Pringle off the list for a couple weeks. Now who are you talking about? And so he's going to have to count on somebody like Cole Komet to emerge as the tight end they hope they drafted with the 43rd overall pick a couple years ago out of Notre Dame. Like, he's going to have to, maybe this new offense will find ways for Cole Komet to do it, but 2 seasons in the NFL, the kid from Arlington Heights or Barrington or whatever you want to say has 2 touchdowns, none last year, and he started all 17 games. So I hope that Cole Komet can be that safety net that maybe Allen Robinson should have been last year. But something's got to happen because we know injuries are going to happen on this Bears team. And first of all, you hope it's not Justin Fields because of the offensive line or the way he plays the game. But if it happens to that receiver core, that's when you're going to find out if it's really thin or not.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Just seeing a couple of the practices at voluntary OTAs, Byron Pringle's been making a lot of catches over the middle of the field. Cole Komet spoke to the media last time we were at Hallis Hall. Again, spoke to how Fields and himself have really been working on that connection, not only just off, like on the field, but off the field. So they have that chemistry moving forward. We'll see how that plays out once the season goes. But I want to take this conversation. Justin Fields was confident in the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Luke, what are you confident in terms of any part of this Bears team where you feel good about it? Maybe I'll start off here. What I'm confident that the Bears will do better this year than they did last season is their effectiveness and more so willingness to run the football without just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of felt like with Matt Nagy. It's like, he was reluctant to commit to it, and if he did, it almost felt like it was forced. Like the Bears finished 11th in attempts last season. So they ran the ball a lot. They also finished 21st in the league in yards per carry. Again, factoring this scheme, the running backs that you have in this room, I feel confident that the Bears are going to be a more effective running team. And they have a fullback on their roster. When was the last team that you can even point to? Like, who has a fullback on their roster? The Bears do.
Suey? Was Matt Suey the last fullback for the Bears?
I think there was one more recent. But that speaks to the
Jason McKee.
Jason McKee, yep.
Shout out.
Fullback, yep. So I think there's just going to be more effective runners, regardless if it's David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert. They drafted a guy in Treston Ebner. That's one area where I feel more confident in. Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you, Luke, in terms of this Bears team where, like Justin Fields, he was confident in the wide receivers, you're confident in this?
I do agree with you that it felt last year like when they ran the ball, it was because Matt Nagy was feeling the heat of fans, front office, whoever it might be, saying, would you run the ball? That's all you guys can do is run the ball. So I do think you'll see Fields run the ball because that's one of the things he's really good at. I do think with Herbert and Montgomery, no matter what offensive scheme is going out there, I like those 2 guys. I think that's the safety net that Fields will have moving forward. So the running game, yes. But we all know that the running game really comes from the offensive line. And so the question will be, is that offensive line with the new scheme and the new type of body they're looking for in their offensive linemen, will those things work the same way the other offensive line did? I don't know, but I would say running game is one thing that I'm fairly confident in with this Bears team. But other than that, it's just individual players. And individual players don't make a great football team.
No.
I have confidence in Justin Fields. And if he does make progress this year, as some of the people on the chat are saying, that they do agree that's what you're really looking for this season. I just know it's more and more difficult if you don't have the running game, the tight end, the wide receivers, the offensive line, all things that are holes on this team. The Bears took 2 steps back to try and take 1 step forward with their new regime coming in. I think it's the right play long term. Do I think it's the right play for this season if you're just a Bears fan? Could be rough. You can't look at too many spots on that team and be like, yep, that's where we're better than everybody else in the division.
And before we went live, we were talking about the schedule and some of the opponents they play and how many wins is this Bears team even projected to get? Or realistically, how many games can they win? It's like, okay, thank goodness you play the Detroit Lions twice. You have both New York teams on the schedule, but there's none of those layups, right? And especially with the Bears team, like nothing's a layup with the Bears in terms of trying to get those wins. But I agree, like this probably, if you're a Bears fan looking for the win total, this is not the season to do that.
No.
Not 2022.
Don't judge it strictly by wins and losses. I see T3P says Cole Comet had 60 catches. Cole Comet, I'm not saying Cole Comet is a bust by any stretch of the imagination, but he's another guy that's in a prove-it type year, and I think that for him is kind of a gift, a rebirth almost in the NFL. He's getting a second chance at life here in the league. Like, it wasn't going well under the old regime. Maybe the new one will. I look at that schedule, and if I'm being perfectly honest with, they won 4 games last year.
Six
or
games
they won
last
6
year.
games. I'm thinking 4 games this year is what I was going to say. Because, somewhere between 4 and 6. If you think they're going to win more than 6, that's optimistic in my eyes. We're talking a lot about, as Bears fans, well, it's got to be better. You got a real coach, an offensive mind, a real scheme. Okay. There's 6 games they play with teams that are thinking the same exact thing. Identical thing. New coach, new leadership,
Young
all of that stuff.
quarterbacks are a common denominator there.
Play the Vikings twice. You play the Dolphins, the Texans. Who's the other team on there?
Are we looking at
Vikings twice?
Oh, Houston has Lovie Smith being a new head coach with the Texans.
We looked it up beforehand. It's like 6 games. 6 of their games are against teams with somebody new as their head coach. New life into the franchise. It's all going to change when we get a new coach. If changing the coach was the only problem for the Bears, we would have been in the Super Bowl a long time ago, because they change coaches all the time.
They unfortunately do.
So I'm not confident that just a new scheme, a new GM, a new offensive coordinator, and a new coach are 100% the answer. I don't think most Bears fans believe that anyway. Everybody knows there needs to be more talent on the roster. Number 1, you got to draft better, period. And the quarterback. So start from there. I don't think it hurts. I think it was the right move to change, but I'm looking at 4, 5, 6 wins.
I think when we did our schedule prediction show, I had Adam Hogan. I ended on 7 or 8. And that's a little higher. I think we had him split with like New York.
Yeah.
Miami was a toss-up game for
Dable,
us.
there's another head coach that's new.
Dable,
the Giants.
Yep, so with the Giants. So, yeah, it's not, like I said, Luke and I are saying the same. Like, in terms of the wins, it's probably not going to be 2022. Look at 2023 to be a year where hopefully that win total does go up. One last thing I'll say, a little bit more confidence in. We were talking about change.
Yeah.
Matt Eberflus and what he's trying to do with this defense. I like what he's preaching there with the hits philosophy, and just seeing it in practice from the times we've been able to be there. There is an emphasis to rally to the football, to have guys punching at the football every opportunity they get. And look, turnovers are not, you can't, sometimes it's just really random when turnovers happen. But at least they're in positions that if it is going to happen, they're doing everything right to make it kind of happen on the field. Now, it's not to say that the Bears are going to go do what the Indianapolis Colts did a season ago and be top 5 in the league in creating turnovers, but they're starting the foundational pieces in voluntary minicamp to try and do so. Now, do they have the defensive players to make that happen? We'll see. They have 2 rookies in the secondary, Roquan Smith, maybe Robert Quinn.
That's who I'm confident in, Roquan Smith.
That's someone.
There's someone you can be confident in.
Yep, that's
that Roquan. No matter what the scheme is, he'll be good.
That's one guy you can pencil in, get 100+ tackles, and feel good about it.
Hey, look at this. Mule Skinner says, the dinner bell is ringing, Luke. Go eat a corn dog. I don't even know what that means. I'm sure it's not a compliment, but I don't even know what it means.
I mean, I haven't.
Whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, nothing.
I haven't had lunch.
What do you got against corn dogs?
Yeah. I don't remember last
Actually, had great corn dogs at Will's Tavern in Lakeview on Friday. Highly recommend their mini corn dogs. Really good. Mule Skinner, really, really good. Dinner bell's ringing.
You prefer a regular hot dog or
I
a corn
prefer
dog,
a regular
though?
hot dog, but this was like an
too.
appetizer of mini corn dogs, and they were actually really good.
Nice. Okay. Will's Tavern, you said, Joey? Yes. Okay. Will's Tavern. All right, cool. Let's check that out.
If you're into corn dogs.
Yes. Gotta do it. All right, you guys, the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker. You can check this one out that I have on. Luke's also got a CHGO shirt, so plenty to choose from there, and anyone you get, you're going to be happy with your purchase. And that's all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email PointsBet at allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. It's your home for live in-play betting. It just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, Live NBA Same Game Parlay. Hey, we're in the finals now, Boston and the Warriors there, so there's not much time to do this, but you can still do it because for the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA Same Game Parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game, and do you want more? You can also boost your live Same Game Parlays, watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And now, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Hope you are enjoying what we're doing at CHGO podcast, live podcasts every day, post-game shows, pre-game shows. I'll have the Cubs pre-game and post-game tonight. And then it's fun to be able to jump on and kind of mix and mingle. We kind of jump on each other's podcasts every once in a while. So to do Bears is fun. Hope to talk Blackhawks and Bulls. And then the weekly CHGO podcast, Sky, Red Stars, everybody. So we hope you're enjoying that. We hope you enjoy the dope merch.
Absolutely.
We're putting out. By the way, these are comfortable.
Oh, very comfortable. Breathable.
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse these days than a T-shirt that's not comfortable. It's because they've made major upgrades to T-shirts, and so I am enjoying that. The premium written content.
Yep, gotta check that out too.
So make sure you become a member. Free shirt, members only Discord, all those things.
All the shows.
And you know what? I love the chat. I love the trash talk. I love people that agree with us. I love people that are just joining in from other podcasts. I saw that Fat Boys, he's taking names. He's taking receipts on people are non-believers. He's a believer on this Bears team. Fat Boy, I will say this. I want the Bears to win the division. I want them to beat the Packers.
Yeah,
I've been desperate for it my entire life. But I'm not feeling it this year. Again, I feel like the organization is moving in the correct direction. I still believe Justin Fields is that guy. If you had to ask me who's closest to winning a championship in Chicago, right? The Bulls made a nice jump, but they still don't have that number one superstar who is a true NBA superstar.
Yeah.
They've got some really good players, but do they have Steph Curry, no. You know, they don't have Jason Tatum even yet, I don't think. I don't think they have Jimmy Butler yet. They had him, but they don't have him now. So the Blackhawks are a long ways away. The Cubs are several years away. The Sox, we thought were going to be there, but, you know, the farm system isn't what it was before, so this group needs to win now. So I look at the Bears and I say they've got as good a chance as almost any team in Chicago. Not this season, but if they have the right quarterback and the new front office knows what they're doing with draft picks, which I like the draft picks this year.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see more wide receivers, but when you have as many holes as this team had after tearing it down, even from where it was, I think it was the right philosophy. That's just me.
Yeah, we talked about that too before, Luke. It's like they didn't jump their own philosophy like, oh, the Bears, we need a wide receiver. But they have the Kyler Gordon on the board, their highest rated player.
Take him.
Let's take him. Jaquan Brisker, another one that was right below Gordon. Let's take him too and address the secondary that had a lot of holes on him. So I like the philosophy that they had there. Before we go into the next segment of the show, I have to share my play of the week. And if you follow the CHGO Bears podcast, I have been on a nasty losing streak in terms of giving people what they want. Here's something to consider for the people that are optimistic about the Bears. If you go into the NFL futures section in PointsBet, they have Justin Fields over 3,399.5 passing yards. The over is at -130. The under is at +100. I'm not going to give you, and I'm not going to tell you what to do because obviously I've been very bad at this. But for people in the chat, over 3,399.5 passing yards for Justin Fields. You taking it at the over at -130 or the under at +100? You do that. I'm not going to tell you what to do anymore because I'm always wrong. But, yeah, I'm just curious, even in the chat, as we kind of continue this show, where are you at on that? Just curious to see how optimistic people are on Fields. And we just talked about all the wide receivers that he doesn't have, however you want to put it. But
it is what it is.
It is what it is, Luke. I want to go to a segment that I actually saw on the CHGO Cubs podcast because I think it applies here for the Bears and how we should view this season. It was maybe, a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago now, a little bit.
Yeah, like 10 days ago. I don't know, maybe
10 days, okay.
Maybe not quite that long.
I guess we're just going to title it How to Cub, right?
The Cubs chat is very similar to the Bears chat. There's angry fans that are mad at ownership.
Got that.
That's similar on both teams for sure. Mm-hmm. There's the people that believe there's no talent on the roster. There's the people that believe there is talent and you're a loser and a traitor if you don't believe in the team going all the way to the Super Bowl.
We got that.
There's definitely people upset about talent being traded away.
Both sides. Khalil Mack's gone. How can you trade away Khalil Mack? There's a lot of similarities between the two teams. And I just said, we're here to help make Chicago sports more fun. Mm-hmm. It's just another place that you can come and join in. There aren't too many places where you can join in during a live show every day, and we're going to just let you have the chat. You guys can talk with us. We're not talking to you. We're talking with you. And I say, bear however you want to bear. Just like cub however you want to cub. I don't want to tell you how to bear this season. If you want to go ahead and believe they're going to win 10 games and make the playoffs and shock people with the new system, I'm with you. Go for it. I'd be happy if it happened. If you believe this is a rebuilding team and that's how you want to bear and you don't want to watch the games, that's your prerogative. I don't care.
That too.
I decided to bear last year differently than I ever have in my entire life. I had a baby and I saw the Bears games and I saw the roster and I said, I'm going to bear different this year. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to DVR the games and I'm going to watch them at about 5 o'clock, stay off Twitter, and I can watch the NFL in an hour.
There you go.
And you know what? Last year, that was a nice way for me to bear. I watched all the games, but I didn't have to watch all the commercials.
Luke,
that might be your way for bearing this year. I think there's also the people that, believe the future is coming and you're willing to sit through it for a couple more years if you're at least going in the right direction. And if that's how you want to bear, that's okay to do that too.
I like that. There were long, long days at Soldier Field after some of those games there, Luke.
Yes.
And that DVR would have been a nice way of doing it. How I'll bear, obviously covering the team, but, you watch individual players too, seeing how they can progress. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be focused on Justin Fields. What is he going to do in year 2 with the weapons, his new scheme? Is he looking more poised in the pocket, getting that ball out quicker, looking like he knows this offense despite this being his first year in it? So just seeing how he's able to progress, even though the situation around him is not the best. He can still take steps forward despite the players around him not being the best talent. You look at, we mentioned Cole Comet. Getting into the end zone is going to be big for me. Seeing what he can do as a red zone target, being a big-bodied guy, being their first draft pick a couple years ago in the second round, you want to see him make that jump in terms of what he can do for this offense. You look at the rookies that they drafted, and Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. Those guys have been creating a lot of turnovers there in mini camp so far. Can they replicate that into these games? Because those are big foundational pieces for this Bears organization moving forward. Another thing, though, and just maybe a small, well, it could be a big thing, too. I don't know how many times I saw the Bears come out of halftime looking like they were completely lost.
Yes.
We saw one team make halftime adjustments, and the Bears try to do exactly what they did or make none at all. So seeing how the Bears, Matt Eberflus, Luke Getsy, Alan Williams, the defense coordinator, can come out of halftime and just be prepared for what the other team might do differently. That can maybe make the Bears more competitive in some of these games. But little things like that is what I'm going to – look, if you want to see how they can do out of timeouts. The Bears, oh, my gosh. I don't know how many times, Luke, they call a timeout. They come out of a timeout, false start. Just an illegal formation. Things that should not be happening after you call timeouts, but just seeing the discipline that this Bears team can have. Those are some of the things I'll be looking for, and that's how I will bear as we're kind of approaching the 2022 NFL season.
I think you're right. It's for me personally, I will bear watching individual performances. If somebody on there said the floor is 5 wins, if they win 8, they'd be dancing. That's pretty much where I'm at, which is just wins and losses. That's kind of how I feel. I do think change can spark a few extra wins, just like it did in the first year for Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
But that team was different because it had a great defense to build off of. So who am I watching? Okay, I want to see how David Montgomery does. And first of all, Justin Fields. Everybody should be watching Justin Fields. When he was drafted, it was one of the most exciting days for Bears fans in a long, long time because it was a guy you could look at that you knew more about than Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky was the big trade up, but not everybody knew a whole lot because he'd only played a handful of games at North Carolina. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a 4-year starter. He hadn't been on the national championship platform that Justin Fields had. So you've seen Fields in college if you watch any college football. Now we've seen a year of him. So I want to watch Fields make that next step and hopefully become the great quarterback that the Bears have been looking for a long, long time.
Very long time.
But there's so many other guys on that list. I want to see what Tevin Jenkins looks like, 20 pounds lighter, and is he going to work with Patrick and be that Eberflus is talking about he wants that nasty on the offensive line. He wants more nasty. He wants, I think it was Ditka used to say, I want more Grabowskis, right? Well, I think that's kind of the same language they're speaking there. I want more nasty on my offensive line. Okay, I want to see that. I want to see if Mooney is a number 1 or can go from a really good number 2 to a number 1, or where's he going to fit in a new offense? Luke Getsy is something to watch. I want to see what he has to offer. Mm-hmm. The crazy part about Matt Nagy is that a lot of us bought in, self-included.
Yeah.
First season, the boom, club dub, all of it. Always, he's running the plays. He ran.
Santa's sleigh, like these creative.
Santa's sleigh. Yeah. He's got all the names for it, the slogans. He's bringing stuff from, Kansas City. He's bringing stuff from Philadelphia. It's going to be exciting. I want to see what Getsy has. He's an unproven guy at the role in which he's coming into. So is the head coach. Mm-hmm. So is the general manager. I want to see Ryan Poles find 2 or 3 guys in that draft where we look at the end of the season and go, well, he was right. I didn't see that coming. And I want to see his draft picks. I want to see Brisker be the next great safety. I want to see Jalen Johnson turn into a great corner.
Yep.
He's been a good corner. Now he's got another guy on the other side. They're going to try and line it up and make it work. Will it? I don't know. And then, I want to see some of the guys that were there have a resurgence, and Cole Komet's one of them for sure. I want to see them get new life with a new front office and prove that they can be big pieces in the NFL.
Even if this team, like we've said multiple times now, may not be high in the win record, there's just so many individual things like that they can watch for, whether it's players, coordinators, how this all kind of comes together as the Bears move forward. Another guy that kind of falls into the category where I want to see what he can do, especially being in a new scheme, and he's had a lot of success early on in his career, Eddie Jackson. That's a guy where you mention his name
yes.
in this, probably in the chat's like, forget about Eddie Jackson. I'm done with Eddie Jackson. He hasn't done anything, and I get it. He has not created the turnovers like he was used to in that special 2018 season, but can this new scheme bring out a better Eddie Jackson that maybe it will never be that good, but can create turnover creating plays like that? So that's a guy where, I look at him, and in his career, he's got the big contract. Can he revert close to what he was doing in 2018? So another guy that falls on this list. But you mentioned Tevin Jenkins, like what the Bears actually do at the tackle positions. So Tevin Jenkins moved back to right tackle.
Right. We thought he was going to be the left he was drafted to be the left tackle of the future, right? Originally by a different regime.
And after playing right tackle at Oklahoma State, they moved him to left tackle where he was behind Jason Peters, and now he's back at right tackle. And you have Larry Borum, who's playing now the left tackle, and he's only had one game of experience when he was at Missouri. So there's a lot of question marks in itself, but I want to see how it all plays out. Who's actually going to be the starting right guard when the season kicks off week 1 against the 49ers? Lots of question marks, but individual storylines that even if the Bears maybe win 5 games, win 8 games, it could still be compelling just to watch those little storylines, as frustrating as it can be to be a Bears fan.
One thing I will say, and maybe I'm, Captain Negative, thinking that it's maybe 5 to 4 to 6 wins in there. Maybe I'm Captain Negative. One thing I can't say about the NFL is there is not a huge difference Sunday to Sunday. Like the best team in the league can still lose to the worst team in the league. We've seen it many, many times on a Sunday. The best team doesn't come out. They were injured. They didn't play as well. They weren't coached to play. Whatever it is. There's very little difference there. However, there is also difference between playoff teams and championship teams. And so I just want to see the Bears make progress. That's one of the things. I just want to see progress. Mostly I want to see Justin Fields show us something, even if I don't believe that the wide receivers are great that he's surrounded with. Show me something. I don't want to see the Bears win 3 games and have a higher draft pick because they're going to finally have a draft pick. I want to see them make progress and then find those pieces in those drafts that other teams didn't see. You can find great players in the second round, for late first round. So I don't think they need a top 5 pick. I don't want to suffer through the really bad season. You know what I mean? Like some teams are willing, like in baseball, it's easier to do it, I think. Trade a bunch of guys away and then come back. I don't want to see that. Jacksonville tried that last year. How did their young quarterback look?
Exactly.
Not that great.
Exactly. And they've taken a way different approach than the Bears have, signing a lot of people in free agency, trying to surround them with talent. We'll see how that works out. I see a comment here from Vaughn. You want to see progress, but we say we're winning 4 to 6 games.
Individual progress, Vaughn. And there's different ways of this team growing.
The win-loss column does not indicate whether a team is progressing in the right or wrong direction. I mean, you can have the Bears competitive in every single game, and they win 4 games. If they go out there, and very unlikely, they play the Buffalo Bills, and it's an actual game, and they lose it. They're competitive in it. You will take that. If Justin Fields looks good in that game, there's progress being made that the Bears can stack up to higher competition, and maybe they just don't have the talent right now, and they don't. 2022, they not have the talent that they probably will have in next season, 2023. But you can make progress despite not having the wins in a season, no doubt.
I know Matt Peck was on this podcast, and he wants to see him go deep more. I agree with that. Like Justin Fields has a good deep ball. I want to see that more with the new speed that they're trying to inject into the wide receiver core. So I'd like to see him be better downfield. I'd like to see Justin Fields I'd like to see the game slow down for him a little bit so that mentally it's slowing down, but he's able to get rid of the ball quicker than he's one of the slower quarterbacks in getting rid of the football. I want to see that speed up for him because the rest of the game is slowing down.
Yeah.
Like those are things you can see from Fields improve where it may not reflect wins and losses. But also it might, so that's okay too. Like if it does, that's great. If it doesn't, and the record's not great this season, the Bears still can make progress. You can go from worst to first in the NFL. I don't think it's happening this year, but that doesn't mean I don't think the franchise could go from third place this year to first place the next year. It's tougher with Aaron Rodgers there, but he's one guy. Yeah. And nothing I want to see more than Aaron Rodgers get old and ineffective. But we're still waiting.
Bears fans they're right there with you, Luke. One last thing, too. What I've been seeing in voluntary minicamp, Cole Komet's actually talked about it in his press conference, seeing more Justin Fields on the move, whether that is in bootlegs and play-action passes, actually implementing into the running scheme like Luke was actually talking about earlier. Matt Nagy did not do that for some reason to the extent that he should have, especially given Justin Fields' talent and his ability to throw while on the move. I know we're going to see that more this season. It's already happening in these voluntary mini camps, and Cole Comet has really talked about it. So just seeing that wrinkle into the offense, how Justin Fields, you're playing to Justin Fields' strengths? What? Like how that's an anomaly from the last regime, but even something as simple as that, seeing how that can unfold and help Justin Fields in year 2, that's also going to be big for him too.
Bruce and Vaughn and a bunch of other guys are saying, hey, I see 8 wins on there a bunch of times. That's progress. Totally agree. Like if they win 8 games, you know what that means? That's going to mean that Justin Fields made a lot of this progress. That means this offensive line does work correctly. It means somebody probably stepped up at wide receiver. It means the draft picks on the defense probably helped. Like all things we're looking for. So you can have both things happen at the same time.
Yes.
And you can also have one thing happen but still make the other move. So I'm not telling you how to watch the Bears. I'm not rooting against the Bears. I'm telling you there's different ways to watch the Bears this season.
And if you can't understand or see a possibility that this team might still be a 6-win team, like be a little bit more realistic maybe. This was a 6-win team last year. There hasn't been any major changes. I think they'll be better. I'm optimistic they will, but there's definitely a possibility that they're
right.
Still on the same level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people just look at the schedule like, all right, the Bears, they can win some of these games, and they probably can, or like we said too, they probably can find a way to lose. We've seen that a lot, but if this coaching staff does some of the things that we've been talking about in terms of having better preparation, coming out of halftime, playing to your players' strengths, then maybe you do win more of those games than you lost last season.
Have you seen some of those throws? I know they keep you guys like 500 yards
Luke,
away at practice nowadays, but like, the chat's talking about the distance throwing for Fields, and he was good at that last year. So that's why I'd like to see more of it. Have you seen some of that in any of the stuff they allow you to watch?
Yeah, so I mentioned like Byron Pringle's been catching a lot of passes in these mini camps. Like there's a lot of over the middle of the field, 20 to 25 yards where Justin Fields is, and the thing about Justin Fields, he's on the money with those throws, but when it's on air, when he's just throwing to his receivers, for some reason the ball isn't as accurate. But then once you put competition in front of him, for some reason it brings out the best in him. And that's just from the voluntary practices. We'll see when training camp happens in actual games, but it's like he almost needs that opposition against him. So like let's throw that accurate pass. But Byron Pringle's been making some catches over in the middle of the field. And most of the other times we're at a vantage point trying to look through 300-pound defensive linemen like, yep, I have no idea who caught that pass, and we'll never know.
There's Jupiter, there's Saturn, there's Justin Fields.
There's the Bears
across the field.
There's the Bears practicing.
I see Riley is screaming in all caps, scheme does matter. They can definitely help Justin Fields with that. So we're all looking forward to it.
We're all looking forward to seeing what they can do with the new scheme. But Chicago sports fans, if you aren't a member of our CHGO family, What are you waiting for at this point?
Yeah, get on board.
Members will have access to all of our premium content from all of our great writers. You also get a free T-shirt of your choice when you become a member. Like I said, Luke and I have you could say swag, drip, the fire, whatever you want to use. We got it all right here. And you have plenty of options on all CHGO website. You also get access to the members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. And, of course, we have podcasts and live shows on every team, every day. And you never know who's going to show up on any of these shows. So you just got to tune in each and every week. So come join this amazing family that is constantly growing here at CHGO.
And if you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is download the PointsBet app. Use that code CHGO when you sign up. You get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. And if you make that $50 or more deposit on that first bet, well, you also get a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. Get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. Any questions about it? Email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. In case you missed it, online sign-up available in Illinois. You can download that PointsBet app right now, register your account start to finish, all from your phone, and you're signing up with the fastest sports book. It's easier than ever. So start living your bet life in seconds. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
I like this. Yep, there we go, Joey. That comment right there from Tony. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fed up talking about it. I can't wait to see them actually play. Yeah, and we're the last day of May. We're going to turn the calendar, get to June, and we'll still have a couple more months before actual Bears football is being played. But I'm right there with you, Tony. Like, we're talking, like, you have some of the national media saying the Bears are going to be the first round draft pick. First overall pick. Justin Fields.
They're thinking they could be the worst team.
Could be the worst team.
I don't think that'll be true.
No, I don't think that'll be true. That the Bears have abandoned Justin Fields because they went defense first in the draft. Like, all these things, all these talking points. We've discussed some of the things here on the CHGO Bears podcast. But like a lot of you, I'm sure you're just wanting and waiting for actual Bears football. Week 1, Soldier Field against the San Francisco 49ers. That's going to be, if it's Trey Lance, you get to see another quarterback from Fields' draft class, if that ends up being the matchup. You also see Mac Jones in there, Zach Wilson, a lot of those guys. So that'll make for interesting games for sure.
Let the USFL tide you over. Have you watched any of it? I'm not in on it at all. I'm old enough to remember the first round of the USFL with the Blitz in town.
Yeah.
Used to go to a few of those games. I'm not into it.
No.
The NFL has taken over as total king, and that's all I care to watch.
The thing is, too, it's like I watched I wouldn't even say a game, like a quarter, and like the level, like the quarterback play in itself, like a lot of these plays are not even being completed or executed to the full potential.
Jim Kelly and Herschel Walker are not on this round of USFL.
No, they are not, and that it shows. So I have not watched. But actually, speaking of things that we have watched or haven't watched, Luke, have you dived into anything on Netflix? Any new shows that you're watching as you're just kind of browsing?
I am a TV guy. I do like a lot of television. Most Netflix wise, we've cruised through most things on Netflix. I finally went back to having Showtime because I was a big Dexter fan.
Okay.
And so now I'm finally getting caught up on the new redo of the final season of Dexter, sort of enjoying that so far. Gosh, there's a lot of shows. I mean, I've watched pretty much everything.
The Obi-Wan is like you.
Obi-Wan, I just started the first. I am a Star Wars guy. I've watched the first half of the first episode of Obi-Wan, and I liked The Mandalorian. I thought Boba Fett wasn't as good as The Mandalorian, at least in the first half of that season, and then I loved the second half. And I'm hoping Obi-Wan is better than both because that's a character that you remember from me from my childhood. Like, I mean, I saw Star Wars in the theater as a kid, like the original. So you're talking to an old guy here, Nicholas. You're talking to somebody that's seen it all. Like,
and I have to admit, like I watched all the Star Wars later, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, where I actually caught up on everything going on. But now I love that whole universe and like everything that goes on in Star Wars. I don't know why it never clicked for me when I was younger.
Yeah,
but I appreciate everything that they're doing now and all the things that they have in terms of shows. But Obi-Wan's definitely something that I need to check out.
Stranger Things, I haven't started it yet.
No, neither have I.
I'm afraid of starting Stranger Things. I will, but I'm afraid of starting it because the first season was so great because the kids were like cute. They were little, right? And it was every 80s movie I'd ever watched. It was Goonies mixed with Poltergeist, mixed with E.T. But now the kids are getting sort of to that almost awkward age. It's like Luke from Modern Family.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden he hit this age and like he's not funny anymore. He's just kind of weird. So I'm not. I will watch Stranger Things, but I haven't started it yet.
So I've watched 2 seasons of it. I have not watched now they're in season 4 if I'm not mistaken. I heard the first episode of this season it's tough. Like there's a lot of things going on.
Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Like dark and scary?
Dark. Definitely dark. But I have not tuned into that. I did see Top Gun Maverick.
You did
yesterday,
see it.
and I really enjoyed it. Like I had seen the original one probably when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
So
you got the Maverick you got a little, nice short on the side.
I have
look
my
a little Maverick coming
aviators over there. Like I'm hooked on it for like I'm the whole look. Like once it becomes Halloween season, like I already know what I'm doing there. But if you haven't seen that, and I know Luke, you're planning on seeing that.
Yes.
Definitely go check it out, and maybe watch the first one before. Like I watched the original one once I got home from the theater just to see again the similarities and how it all played out. But yeah, definitely a really good movie.
There aren't too many movies or TV shows that have a few beats of a song that you know it instantly and you're excited about it. Like Star Wars is one of them, right? The galaxy far, far away starts going and people get excited about it. Top Gun for me in my childhood is one of those. You hear the bell toll,
yes,
and they start playing, and like boom, instantly you're into Top Gun. I got the need for speed, Nicholas.
Yeah.
So I am definitely going to see it, and I'm glad to hear that it's good, because most sequels that stretch out that long, for instance, I was thrilled when Caddyshack 2 came out because I loved Caddyshack, and then it came out, and I was like,
why'd it come out?
why did they ever do that? Like when they usually wait multiple decades for a sequel, it's not usually a good thing, but you're saying it's good.
It's really good. And you have to see it in theaters. I know eventually it'll come out on Blu-ray or even maybe some of the streaming services, but I think that's a movie. Go to the theater, and if you can be in one of those seats that moves, like my family and I weren't in one of those, but yeah, that's definitely one of those. You got to take it in at the theater and just enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is.
100%.
I'm seeing Guardians of the Galaxy has the beats. Yes, it does, Riley. I know Joey can appreciate that too, being a Marvel fan.
Love it. Love it. I just watched all of What If recently. I was way behind on that.
I have not seen any of that.
That's a show on Netflix?
It's a show on Disney Plus. It's a big Marvel thing, Luke,
What If? I've watched some of the Marvel stuff. I thought it's good. Most of it's good. I haven't watched the Guardians of the Galaxy. I watched the what's the bow and arrow one?
Hawkeye
watched.
Either of you guys are Breaking Bad guys, because Better Call Saul is now getting into its the mid-season finale of its last season, and that has some really phenomenal reviews. And I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan, and I stopped Better Call Saul, but I got to get back into it.
Me too. Absolutely. In fact, that might have to be the next thing I start watching. I'm also finishing Billions.
Okay. Yep.
And that is taking a total dive for me. I'm getting to the point where I'm not even sure I'm going to finish Billions.
That's the worst, too. If you
I don't want to ruin anything. I'm just going to say it's taking a dive.
Then doesn't live up to expectations. But look at this. You can get on the CHGO Bears podcast. You can get some Cub updates from Luke here. You can get some movie show updates. You get it all here, and that's why you need to make sure you're following everybody. But I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in to this Tuesday edition of the CHGO Bears podcast. Luke, thanks again for stopping in and making this a fantastic show.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun hanging out, talking a little Bears.
These crossover shows, I'm digging it. We had the Bulls guys on earlier, and who knows? We're out to dive into Blackhawks at some point, the Sky, and keep it going. But just make sure, everybody, you're following us on all of our social media platforms, CHGO_Bears, CHGO_Sports, the CHGO_Cubs podcast. And make sure you also have the notifications on YouTube. And we're also on Instagram and TikTok. Go check those out as well. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, bear down, Chicago.